Hello and welcome to Nighthawk Racing and the hashtag F01-R02 Championship. Firstly, I'm Sarah Hawkey. You can find myself and the rest of our drivers here on the Nighthawk Racing YouTube channel. You can also check out the entire back catalogue of seasons 1 to 3 of the F01-R02 series, mini-series and off-championship events and one-off race events, all of which are highly competitive and a lot of fun. Also, please check out our Instagram and TikTok for other content and races there. Link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen for more information. But now, it's time to focus on the event at hand. So, tonight is round 2 of season 4 and in this video we'll be covering the red lobby here at Sardegna A Reverse. Before we get into tonight's race, I'm just going to give you a little bit more information about the event itself and the championship as a whole. So as you can see on screen at the moment is our calendar. We have a 10 race championship calendar going to several different tracks that GT7 has to offer. The racing itself will be divided into 2 lobbies, the red and the blue lobby. There are 2 racing events with a qualifying session, and the order of the events is the qualifying session comes up first. This sets a grid for the feature race. Next up is the sprint race, which is based on reverse average points scored, and then we go straight into the feature race, and like I said earlier, the qualifying session sets the grid for the feature race. So, up first on the racing events of the night is the sprint race. The sprint race will be 11 laps and 85% fuel. The grid is formed via how the drivers line up in the reverse average points scored across the season for a rolling start. Next up, we have the feature race at 39 laps. All drivers must use 2 different compounds of tyres in this race, whilst also starting on the grid on the compound that they set their fastest lap in qualifying earlier. And as a reminder, during the lobby tonight, in the blue lobby, drivers have full driver aids such as traction control, ASM and ABS. And in the red lobby, they only have ABS enabled on the driver aids, that hardcore driving experience to really challenge our drivers. So while the drivers get their qualifying session done and dusted, let's talk a little bit about the track that we're racing at tonight. So tonight we're racing at Sardegna A Reverse, and it is another fictional circuit first introduced in Gran Turismo Sport in 2019. It's 5.1 kilometers or 3.1 miles long. It's got 15 turns in total, and the circuit itself is located on the island of Sardegna, one of the number of Italian resorts surrounded by the Mediterranean Sea. Using closed off sections of public roads, this is a high speed technical street course that features both long throttle sections and tight corners, in particular the ups and downs of the first half of the course and the diminishing road width allow for some real high stakes up to the guardrail racing. I don't know about you, let's go see where everyone qualified and let's get into the sprint race.
Okay, and here we are for the second event of the season. This time, red lobby sprint race here at Sardegna A Reverse. And I'm just going to remind everyone that the grid is laid out with reverse average points scored from the previous races. So with that in mind, I'm going to pass you over to our Sarah Hawkey.
Hello everybody, and yes, obviously reverse average points shakes up the grid a little bit, so I'm excited to see how everyone gets on. But starting off in pole position, we have Sidley in the Lexus RCF. He is a promotion from the blue lobby last week, so he's getting a little bit of a taste of what the red lobby can offer, and hopefully, in pole position, he'll be, in front of all of the action, and hopefully he gets a good start. Rooting for him. So in P2 we have Lee in the Porsche 911. He's also a promotion blue lobby last week, and he's had a taste of the red lobby before, but let's see how he can do again this week. In P3 we have Midnight ISO in the Mclaren, looking for another good result this week. In P4 we have Mercedes X50 in the Porsche 911 in that Team Year 1 livery. It's very bright, so we'll be able to see it at any point on the track. In P5 we then have Jabril in that Ford GT, looking for another decent result tonight. In P6 we then have Nikki in the Mercedes AMG, another promotion from the Blue Lobby last week after getting some podiums and really good points. And then P7, before I hand over to Midnight, we have Charlie in the Ford GT. Again, obviously, back for another taste of the Nighthawk racing around Sardegna. But I'm going to pass over to Midnight, who's going to run through the rest of the grid.
Thank you, sir. And I have to say, from that list, I'm definitely keeping an eye on Charlie and Nikki, our rookies, who have definitely done very well last week in Red and Blue Lobby, respectively. But in P8 is our very own admin of Pedro in that M6, and he's in a bit of a difficult position, starting in the middle of the pack. But if anyone can get towards the front, I have faith in him. So good luck to Pedro on this one. Up next we have Giles, or Max Velocity, or Velocidad, depending on how you know him, in that RX Vision. And he has been very quick in practice around here, so good luck to him, but again, tricky starting from the mid-pack. In 10th we have Katie Lakai, our Season 3 champion in that GTR. So good luck to Kai. He had a difficult race at Maggiore last week and he's going to be looking for a better one this week. In 11th we have our own training video enthusiast of Sophia, and who last week again had a very, very good set of results, particularly in the feature at Maggiore. So good luck to her on this one again. In 12th we have the Dark Lord with the Toyota Supra. So there's only a couple of people I would never like behind me. It is the Dark Lord, and who is in 13th, our Swizzy. I've always said you could have Genghis Khan behind you, or these two. I would probably choose Genghis Khan. But Swizzy, P13, as I've said, returning Season 1 champion, which states, I think, a lot about his character, who has continued to race with us and always provide us with great racing. So in that M6, in that bright red livery, good luck to Swizzy, and watch out for everyone in front of him. Back to you, Sarah.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how everyone gets on, especially Swizzy. It's always not if, but when he's going to get to the front of the grid and how long it takes. So I'm excited to see, how long it takes for him to, kind of make his way through the grid. Apart from that, I'm wishing obviously my fellow Blue Lobby drivers from last week a good result this week. Hopefully they can all have a bit of fun and get a taste of what the Red Lobby is all about.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm going to be keeping an eye on particularly Charlie, who in his first race was definitely showing the established Red Lobby drivers from previous seasons exactly what he thought of the establishment. And Nikki and Sidley, who definitely had good races themselves, respectively, in the Blue Lobby. Nikki with a double podium as well, so one to watch. But with that in mind, I think we should head into the sprint race and see how it pans out, and hand over to our commentary team.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so leading us away for the sprint race here tonight for the Red Lobby, we have City, followed by Lee, followed by Midnight, being the top three. It'll be interesting to see who can gain places and who won't, lose positions as we start the first lap. It looks like Lee has already got a slight bit of a run on City heading into the first corner. Maybe not a place you want to be making a move into the first corner, but certainly are we looking at making a few drivers making it. Oh, is that some contact back there, Sarah?
Yeah, it looked like Pedro made contact with another driver made contact with Pedro, and obviously the barrier there sent him back onto the track into the path of Sophia. So obviously Sophia starting lap one with a little bit of damage. That won't help her. But sorry to interrupt there. Carry on what he was saying.
No problem. Our top four are still unchanged. It looks like Mercedes has picked a half-second penalty. Oh, she's out! Well, they've outbroke themselves into turn 5, I believe that is, and possibly given Midnight a little bit of a tap there, but it doesn't seem to affect him too badly as he's made a move on Citily, who went a bit deep. Citily, who obviously started this race on pole, could be down to P4 as he is. Oh, it's a little bit of contact there between Citily and Jabril, but it looks like Jabril is now promoted up to the podium positions, while Lee leads us at the moment, Sarah.
Yeah, a lot of action so far, and we're already nearly halfway through lap 1, coming to the finishing stages of the first lap. And what can I say? There's been a bit of to and fro in between some of the drivers, obviously trying to stake their claims and get in the highest positions possible as quick as possible. But everyone seems to have got round the final corner now, or just about to. So this is where obviously everything will start to calm down. As I say, that's Sophia having a little bit of a drift out of the final corner, but Swizzy already up to P7, obviously starting at the back. He's definitely on the hunt on his return to get back up into that winning position.
Yeah, absolutely. Also interesting to note, Nikki lost 2 positions in those final couple of corners to both Sophia and Swizzy, as we see a driver round, and it's Lee. Lee's crashed on the exit of the first corner, Sarah.
Yeah, obviously was leading it just a lap ago. Maybe potentially a turn 1 contact with the barrier there. Didn't quite catch it, but hopefully he can get back into the race and try and challenge. He was running well for that first lap, so hopefully, like I say, he can make up a few positions from now.
Although, interestingly enough, our new leader, Midnight ISO, is on the soft tyres, so at least for the first couple of laps, it might be advantage Midnight ISO on those soft tyres until they start wearing out towards the end of this race.
Yeah, potentially. Obviously, we've done a lot of practice around here. The softs should, fingers crossed, should last the whole 10 laps if he treats them nicely. So maybe a good result on for Midnight here. Talking about not so good results, Katie Dekai coming out of the corner there went a bit wide and lost quite a few positions. So he's obviously on the back foot and he's trying to, get up to the back of Charlie at the minute. And obviously Pedro in P10 after that lap 1, turn 1 issue that we didn't spot earlier. But I can see everyone trying to calm themselves down. Obviously this is a very difficult track, we both know, Kirk. Obviously we've raced it as well. How are you finding it so far? The drivers are you're doing pretty well, but that turn 1 is catching a few drivers out today. Yeah,
absolutely. Although it is certainly working to some drivers' advantages. As you said, the likes of Sophia and Swizzy are both up in P5 and P6 respectively, but also as we see Sophia making a move up the inside of Citily for P4, quite a simple move for her in the end there. She's and now she goes to hunt down one of our new rookies who obviously joined us for the first time at the previous round, Giles, which I don't think that's right. I think that's Max Velocity, isn't it?
It is, yes. His previous name, Max Velocity, Velocity Dad, but known as Giles or Giggles this season. He's gone for a little bit of a rebrand, and he's picked that RX Vision to do so, which you can hear it from a mile away, that car. But he had a good round. Obviously, he was in the blue lobby last week, and he got a double win, I believe. So he's looking to try and get a good result again here, and kind of, set himself up in the red lobby. We're talking about a little bit of a battle. We've got a battle between Nikki and the Dark Lord going on at the minute. Nikki was in front, but we all know how quick the Dark Lord is. He's trying his best to in that Supra to try and catch Citily, which is just out in front. But Swizzy already 3 laps in, up into P5. I think with Swizzy, it's not if, it's when he gets on to that top spot of the podium, but hopefully Midnight can give him a little bit of a fight. But it looks like Sophia is on the hunt for Giles as well, and again, she had a really good result last week, and picking the R8 this season, it's a difficult car, so hopefully Sophia always picks those cars that everyone else finds difficult, but she finds it a breeze. But is anything catching your eye so far, Kirk? As Jabril loses it at turn 1. Like I say, there's going to be a lot of paint marks at turn 1. That barrier's probably never seen so much action.
Yeah, it certainly. Well, what we've seen and it feels like half the grid is had accidents at the exit of the first corner, and we're only on lap 4. But it's certainly a lot of on-track action with, I would say, Sophia doing very well, getting past Giles up into P2. Oh, is Giles absolutely outbreaks himself there and gives Sophia quite a hefty love tap to the side of her Audi there, Sarah.
Yeah, and that's opened up the gap for Swizzy to try and get past Giles. Giles contact with a little bit there with Swizzy as they go around this fast section here. Swizzy trying to outbrake Giles, but they're currently going side by side. But this track is quite hard, so if you brake just that little bit later than you did the previous lap, it can catch you out. So potentially maybe Giles getting a little bit caught out there with the fast drivers of Swizzy and Sophia around him.
But now both of our fastest aliens in the lobby are now hunting down our very own Midnight ISO. Do you think with a slight advantage he's got over the 2 drivers behind him, do you think he'd be able to hold on to this to the end, Sarah?
Before I say that, Giles having a little bit of an accident coming out not the penultimate corner, the final corner, sorry. So he does lose quite a few positions, and that brings him all the way back to P12. Unfortunate for Giles because he was running quite well, but hopefully we've obviously halfway through the race now. He's still got quite a lot of laps to try and make that progress again. But talking about Midnight, I don't know. I mean, we know how well Midnight did last week, and again, he's trying to look for a good result this week. But when you've got the aliens like Sophia and Swizzy behind you, I think he knows they'll be basically on the back of that McLaren bumper within the next lap or so. But yeah, hopefully he can defend from him a little bit, but we shall see. As they seem to be about a corner behind him at the moment, so it's accelerate all the way down to the floor for Midnight here. But Mercedes also on the back of Citily here, maybe another battle brewing here. I'll keep my eye on this one. But yeah, I mean, across the grid, obviously Katie Dekai back up to P9, challenging with Pedro as well. Katie Dekai seems to be struggling a little bit here, Kirk.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's just a track that doesn't suit his driving style, or maybe it doesn't suit the car that well. But maybe not making the sort of progress we could have possibly expected from him. Obviously, we're still only halfway through this race, and you can still see quite a few cars in front of him. So maybe a top 5 is still on for him here. But at the moment, he certainly might need to get a move on ever so slightly if he wants to gain some valuable points in what would be very early on in the championship, Sarah.
Yeah, obviously season 3 championship, so he's looking to try and defend that championship from the likes of the Dark Lord. Pedro getting very wide there and unsettling that BMW. But yeah, around this track it's so hard to overtake. You've got to pick your moments. So maybe Katie Dekai waiting for that opportunity to pass Pedro here and get on the back of Nikki. Obviously, Nikki, a promotion from Blue Lobby last week, seems to be running well so far. But, I mean, the characteristics of this track, like I just said a minute ago, is so hard to overtake. You've really got to pick your moments here. So, I think qualifying, obviously, that we'll see where everyone qualified for the feature race. That's definitely going to be important this week.
Just a little update on the battle for the current for the victory of this race. On the last lap, Sophia was 1.1 seconds faster than Midnight ISO on the previous lap, and she's going quicker this lap. If he's not feeling it at the minute, he'll certainly be feeling the pressure soon from the Audi driver.
Yeah, and we've got Swizzy not too far behind as well, so potentially Swizzy might get 2 for 1 here. He might be able to pass Sophia and Midnight within the next lap. But he really does obviously have his work cut out for him. But yeah, I think Midnight will obviously see the Audi R8 and the BMW in his rearview mirror now, and might be a little bit scared. Might have a few Code Brown moments, but also not too far behind is the Dark Lord as well. So the Dark Lord really getting used to this Supra here. Seems to suit his driving style quite well. But
I just want to say, Sophia was 2 seconds a lap faster than Midnight ISO. I think he's only got to be sure. He's only got to be a matter of time. As Midnight ISO runs very wide and getting all over the grass in that first sector. I'm sure Sophia will be lining him up for an overtake sooner rather than later as he goes deep into the to the right hander that leads onto like this mini back straight. Sophia is now very much within touching distance there, Sarah.
Yeah, it's hopefully Midnight, in the next few corners won't make a mistake. But while that's all been going on, Katie Lakai has retired from the race, so we lose Katie Lakai from the race. Obviously, like you say, maybe potentially a track that doesn't suit that GTR very well, but hopefully we'll see him back in the feature race, so we can try again. But yeah, obviously Sophia here might be trying to force Midnight into a little bit of a mistake here. She's getting up to the back of that McLaren and trying to pick her moments to overtake Midnight, and obviously so is Swizzy. Swizzy's looking at this all going on. Potentially, if the two in front make a mistake, that's an easy win for Swizzy here. But
or Midnight could play the smart card here. Maybe wait for when Sophia's making a move on him, park it on the apex, and purposely back Sophia into Swizzy, where those two fight each other. And which will allow Midnight to get a little bit of breathing room.
Potentially, there might be some smart thinking. While you watch that battle in front, we've had a little bit of movement from P6 down to P8. Sitaly drops a few positions. Nikki, and Pedro hits the wall and lets Sitaly back through. That obviously be a little bit of damage for Pedro there. But also Mercedes drop into P10. Maybe potentially an incident that we missed in the previous lap. But Charlie as well doing quite well, running in that 4GT. But let's jump back up to the battle for the lead, and Sophia seems a lot closer this lap, Kirk.
Yeah, is she going to go for it now? She thinks better of it. Midnight parking that McLaren right in the middle of the road, saying you're going to have to work some magic if you want to get past me like this. Although it looks like he may have gone a little bit wide. A bit of contact there between the two. Between Midnight and Sophia, which allows Swizzy to get through, which is exactly what you said might happen, Sarah. Let Midnight and Sophia come to blows, and Swizzy reaps the rewards of it as he now takes lead of this sprint race.
Yeah, like we said, obviously Swizzy in prime position there if the two in front did make a mistake, and it just so happens that Sophia contacted with Midnight and left just the perfect BMW shaped gap for Swizzy to get through. But obviously Midnight's still in front of Sophia for now, but she'll try her best obviously to try and get past Midnight within this next lap or so to catch Swizzy again. But yeah, obviously unfortunate for Midnight losing the lead there like that, but obviously this battle is still yet to get to its finishing point. But I don't know if
Sophia goes absolutely sends Midnight into turn 2 and makes that move 6. Maybe a little bit robust, maybe a little bit of elbows came out there from Sophia, but she spotted it and she absolutely went for it. She spotted that Audi shaped gap and she made it work.
Yeah, well, like Senna said, if you don't go for the gap, you're no longer a racing driver. So that's what she decided to do, go for that gap. Like I say, maybe a little bit robust, but she made it work. And obviously, if you can get the overtake done as early as you can in this lap, it really does help you. But obviously, Midnight might be feeling a little bit hard done by here, obviously losing 2 positions within a lap and a bit. But obviously, this might not be the finishing order. We've still got a lap left to go. So obviously, Midnight will try his best to fight as much as he can with Sophia.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he'll be able to stick with the Audi driver in this final lap or so. And I would say maybe he's even looking at a threat from behind from the Dark Lord on those fresh medium tyres, but he had Dark Lord managed to pick a second penalty up somewhere. So it looks like as long as Midnight keeps it clean here, he might be on for a podium finish, although it looks like the tyres on Sophia's Audi, maybe it might be advantage Midnight heading onto this final lap.
Yeah, Midnight obviously going for, both on the softs, but like you say, Midnight's is just a little bit in better condition than Sophia's here. Well, was that a little clip of the wall from Sophia there? I'm not quite sure, but yeah, Midnight in prime position if anything goes wrong. But just looking back to the back of the grid, obviously we've got Lee still running. A little bit of a spin there. I'm sorry, Lee, I didn't mean to catch that. But yeah, obviously this track is proving quite difficult for quite a few drivers. It is very difficult. We drove it. It's one of those tracks that's very unforgiving. It's a lot of barriers, a lot of walls, and a lot of grass. And Giles as well seems to be having a little bit more of a difficult time than Lake Maggiore. But Pedro has got behind Charlie. I'm not sure if he missed an incident there or Charlie went for an overtake, but Charlie now in front of Pedro in P7. And a little bit of a battle between Nicky and Jabril. Sorry, Kirk, what were you spotting there?
Well, I was just going to say I was on board with Pedro on the start. In the previous lap, he got a little bit squirrely coming out of the final corner, which allowed Charlie to sneak past him down the pit straight, which explains why Pedro lost a position to Charlie. But going on board with Swizzy, he really did reap the rewards after Midnight and Sophia came to blows. It managed to fit through that BMW-shaped gap, which seemed to only just open up for him. And once he got past, there was no looking back for him, as he comes over to the line to take the victory here in the sprint race. Very well driven by Swizzy, followed by Sophia, just managing to hold off Midnight ISO by what could be described as millimeters. If that was the start-finish line was any further down the straight, it would have probably been a photo finish between the two of them. Dark Lord driving a very impressive race to finish 4th, with Jabril in P5 and Nicky P6. If you want to take us the rest of the way, Sarah.
Yep, and Charlie just finishing behind Nicky there in P7, with Pedro finishing in P8. Then we've got Mercedes as well, finishing P9. P10, Giles has just crossed the finish line now. P11, we've got Sitaly. And then in P12, just coming out of the final corner, we have Lee. Like I say, a difficult race for Lee. But, you know, even to get points in this race is better than getting no points, as he comes across the finish line now.
Yeah, absolutely. And our one and only retirement from this race is Katie the Kai.
Yeah, obviously, hopefully see him back for the feature race. But I think it was a good sprint race. Obviously, the first of the two racing actions. A lot of battles across the grid. Hopefully, they'll reignite in the feature race as well. But I told you, it wasn't if, it was when Swizzy was going to get on that top spot of the podium. I don't know if I jinxed it for everybody else, or if Swizzy's, you know, just that good that he just worms his way through the grid almost effortlessly. But what did you think of it, Cook?
Yeah, I mean, it's what we come to expect really from Swizzy, isn't it? Usually starting towards the back in these sprint races, and somehow manages to magically find himself magically find himself somewhere on the podium. And what can I say? Another fantastic drive from the Swedish driver.
So here are the qualifying results. Obviously our qualifying session took place earlier, but nevertheless, running through the grid, I'm going to pass you over to Midnight, who's going to run through the top half, and I'll run through the rest for you.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. So, taking pole position with somewhat no surprise to people who have seen him in our previous series, particularly from Season 1, Swizzy in a 1 minute 39.609 on medium tyres. So that is very ominous for the race as far as I'm concerned. But in P2 on soft tyres we have Giles or Velocidad or Max Velocity, and I'm going to stop saying it after this because we're just going to know him as Giles or Giggles on a 1 minute 40.160. In P3 the Dark Lord himself, our Louis, 1 minute 40.514 on medium tyres also. On soft tyres we have Nicky, promotion from the blue lobby from last week, on a 1 minute 40.526, and then P5 we have Charlie in that 4GT and a 1 minute 40.558. Up next in the other 4GT we have Jabril on a 1 minute 41.204. good luck to him round here, but he's going to have to go some to match his 4GT counterpart in Charlie this week. And with that, I'm going to hand you over to Sarah.
Thank you very much for doing that. So in P7 we then have Mercedes X50 setting a time of a 1:40.329, and then again in P8, similar to last week, Pedro must like the number 8, so he's qualified in P8 with a 1:41.365, so incredibly close to pinching that P7 spot. But in P9 we have Midnight ISO, the other co-founder of Nighthawk Racing, with a time of a 1:41.942. Then we have Lee in P10 setting a time of a 1:42.139. And in the 11 we have Sitaly, also setting a time of a 1:42.553. And then rounding off our qualifying and feature race starting grid, we have KD the Kai setting of a time of a 1:43.732.
Looks like a difficult qualifying session for Kai, but you can always bet that he's going to be coming back through the field. He is our season 3 champion, so I think one to watch for this race. But otherwise, we've got to. There's so many drivers in there that we can keep an eye on and watch. But is there any sort of top one that you want to watch? But I just have to say the whole grid looks entertaining here today.
Oh, it definitely does, and obviously only Giles and Nikki opting for the soft tyres. Everyone, felt a little bit more confident starting on the mediums, obviously for the feature race. So I'm excited to see kind of how that plays out for the drivers. It's a very difficult track that we all know, especially that turn 1. So obviously qualifying is one thing, getting around turn 1 on the first lap is another. So hopefully after turn 1 that will kind of settle out the grid a little bit, and we can see who gets some decent results.
Right. And with that, let's go across to our commentary team.
And here we are, leading us away as we get our 5 red lights coming on. We have Squizzy. Can Squizzy have a great start? He does have a very good start, although it looks like Giles on the soft tyre manages to out-drag that BMW in towards the first corner, which gives him the optimum line. As we look further behind, the driver is going possibly 3 wide back there that I see. There may have been a little bit of rubbing back there, but everything seems alright in the end. As we look at Squizzy sending revenge up the inside into turn 2, which helps him retake the lead from Giles. As we look further back, it looks like everybody's sticking single file for the most part, apart from Pedro looking to go around the outside successfully of Mercedes. Although it seems like a little bit of contact between the Porsche and the BMW driver, which allows Mercedes to come ahead. And as we're all running to a file, as we look at Midnight trying to take the outside line, which turns to the inside line for the right-hander that leads onto the back straight, as Pedro and Midnight continue to go side by side, and it looks like Sophia is looking at trying to make it 3 wide. They are going 3 wide. Oh God, you almost want to look away. It's so you don't know who's going to come out on top. As you see Pedro with the inside line managing to hold it for now, although it looks like Sophia may be looking at challenging Pedro to take away P8. Can she get a better exit from the right-hander? It looks like she can. It's an advantage Sophia as the 2 drivers go side by side, and it is in the end. Sophia managed to make a double overtake on both Midnight ISO and Pedro. Although further up, looking back to the front, it looks like Squizzy is a healthy margin up at the front, and it looks like the Dark Lord from 4th to 2nd, Sarah.
Yeah, very busy first lap, shall we say, and I don't know about Midnight there, but I think he chose life when they were going 3 wide into that corner there. Probably the best decision, but he's already, trying to make his way back up the grid, engaging in a little bit of battle with Pedro here. I think he's probably going to stick behind Pedro for this turn 1, as we all know. Going side by side here never really works. Jabil has had a little bit of an incident there at turn 1, which nearly caught, I believe, Sophia out again. But Sophia already on the back of Charlie and the Mercedes, the 2 rookies of the F1 RST. Obviously, it's their second event in the championship, so obviously they're being tested around this track. It is very difficult compared to last week, but like I say, Sophia already on the back of them looking to make a move. But obviously Katie the Kai, I believe he qualified last, or so. He's made a challenge for himself trying to get up the grid, but yeah, obviously Sicily as well, having a little bit of a tough time, but hopefully he can make some progress soon. Does anything catching your eye? So
Yes, Sarah, I'm sorry to interrupt. It looks like we've got Sophia looking up the inside of Mercedes into this little right-hander at the end of the back straight, and she does makes it look quite simple there. Just outbroke Mercedes and then carried the momentum to the apex, which allowed her to take track position and the position. Yeah, another
all
great
the
move.
positions.
Yeah, all the positions. Well, it certainly seems like Sophia wants all the positions, and obviously she started at the back of the grid for this race, and she's already up to P5. So who knows what could become of this race? And it looks like maybe Nikki running a little bit wide there at the final corner, but yeah, the rookie Nikki having fantastic showing so far. I know he's only starting the third lap, but up in fourth place is quite a remarkable achievement in a lobby that is this fast.
Yeah, he did a cracking job in the blue lobby last week, and obviously he's been promoted into the red this week. And again, looking, to try and settle in the red lobby, as I believe Sophia just grazed the barrier there, but already trying to get up on the back of Nikki here. But yeah, obviously wishing Nikki a good race as well, fellow ex-blue lobby driver. But obviously Charlie on the back of Mercedes, as well as here, as Sophia picked up a lot of grass there. But Midnight's already on the back of Pedro again here. But yeah, everyone seems to have settled down. Swizzy seems miles away already in the lead. But yeah, obviously a challenge for Sophia, because she did technically start last because she did miss the qualifying session. So she's got a little bit of a challenge on her hands, but already up into P5 with picking up a half-second penalty as well.
If it doesn't rain, it pours. Obviously, this lap number 3 obviously not going quite to plan for Sophia. Obviously picking up a little bit of damage in the front, which is going to give her more understeer in the medium and high speed corners due to lack of downforce. And obviously picking up that half-second penalty is going to kind of undo some of that work she's done to overtake the drivers behind her. Although maybe she could hold on, but it looks like Mercedes managed to go around the outside of her. But Charlie chose to stick behind for now. It'd be interesting to see what Sophia does. Does she continue to stick out on these medium tyres, or is she going to pit to repair the damage straight away? I think it's looking like she's choosing to stay out, Sarah.
Yeah, maybe potentially she's trying to get to that first, pit stop that she planned. Obviously damage coming unplanned. She'll try and see how far she can carry on. As we see Katie the Car going for a very late move on Midnight into turn 1 there, and Pedro looking to make a move on Charlie round the outside. Very difficult ask round that corner, but Pedro seems to have got it done, although the two are pretty much side by side at the moment, but Charlie just slotting in behind Pedro. So Pedro making some moves as well, and Katie the Car on the lookout for that P8 as well.
Absolutely. It looks like our top 3 are really starting to settle into the groove of this race now, Sarah. Obviously Swizzy and Dark Lord leading us first and second, but third and fourth are both soft tyre qualifiers, which maybe might be a good idea. Starting on the soft tyres, qualify high up, and then you can really take full advantage of those soft tyres at the start of the race by hopefully getting some clear track, which both Giles and Nikki have currently.
Yeah, clear air at this track is, like you say, very beneficial. So all the drivers trying to get clear air. Obviously, Sophia is not in the clean air of Mercedes at the moment, so obviously that R rate is becoming a little bit more unpredictable. But yeah, like you say, obviously if you qualify higher, you've got kind of that first choice as when to pit, and some people may follow you or they might stick to their original plans. But yeah, like you say, the top 3 seem to be settling well into the race. Swizzy up in P1 with some rocket fuel. He's already kind of a corner or so in front of Dark Lord. But Giles, he's hanging on in there. P3 obviously qualifying on the softs, like you say, and hopefully trying to finish on the podium, but not too far behind. We have Nikki and Mercedes, although Mercedes again still has Sophia in his rearview mirrors, with Pedro just nearly following behind them. A little bit of a gap between himself and the pack in front. But we've had a move on Charlie. Katie the Kai getting past Charlie on that thought a potential move from Midnight there. I saw the front end of that McLaren appear from nowhere, but he holds up behind Charlie for now.
I just want to mention something about Sophia's damage. It looks like Charlie's also picked up a bit of damage from her front right tyre damage. So that's obviously not going to do his race any favours. It looks like Mercedes and Pedro are going side by side for P6. Pedro managed to make that move around the outside of the Porsche driver, making it look quite simple. Although a move like that definitely takes a lot of commitment and trust. Although it looks like Mercedes might have gotten into some trouble somewhere, because he's also lost a lot of time to Sophia. Lost place and time to Sophia. Back to what I was originally going to say with Sophia in the front damage. In racing the blue lobby, I know for a fact I didn't have. I had front left tyre damage, and it's caused me to run about a lap slower than what I would normally be doing without damage. So you've got to think about it. How much is the damage affecting performance of not only Sophia now, but also Charlie as well? As you see Charlie to repair, I believe.
Yeah, obviously, like you say, you've got to kind of factor in your pit stops, your strategy as a whole. If the damage is obviously costing you a lot of time, and again, it's unpredictable, maybe you have to change up that strategy just a little bit. So we might see, Nicky is round after turn 2. Nicky is round. Very unfortunate for Nicky there. I believe he's waiting for all the traffic to go past him so he can turn around. But obviously unlucky for Nicky. Hopefully he can get back into the race. It is very early on in the race, obviously only lap number 6. But it looks like Charlie has pitted. Gone back up to 100% fuel. Katie the Kai outbraking himself there, and a little bit of a wall banging. Obviously that GTR proving a little bit difficult to drive around this track. But Midnight is just behind him. So hopefully Midnight can make up some of that ground and give a little bit of a challenge to Katie the Kai there. But yeah, just having a quick look through the grid. Like I say, Swizzy's out in front. Very commanding lead so far. But I've got to say, I'm very impressed with Giles so far. He's hanging on in there in P3. Obviously, we have got the very fast Sophia trying to hunt him down. And obviously, we don't know how long that will take. But for as long as possible, hang in there, Giles. But how are you finding it so far, Kirk?
So much unlike my race in the blue lobby, although I wouldn't say it's all bores from what I've heard from other drivers. It's we're lap 7 and I think we've had a bit of action every single lap. I think everyone's either been tapping the barrier, which is always very easy to do around here, or we've seen an overtake or two. Oh, is that? Oh, no, nothing. I thought I saw a little bit of incident there with Dark Lord, but I think it was just exiting, getting a little bit scroll in the exit of turn 2. But yeah, I'm expecting to see a lot more action throughout this whole race, as I think we've lost a driver.
Okay, the guy coming into the pits, maybe potentially change up his strategy or fixing some damage from that little bit of a collision with the wall. But we've got a little bit of a battle emerging between the two fellow Ford GTs. Charlie obviously behind Jabril, looking to try and make a move, but he'll be following his fellow Ford GT racer. Jabril gets very close to the wall there. I mean, it is really... Charlie braking a lot later than Jabril there. Might have caught Jabril off guard there. Makes the move done in turn 2 and makes it look pretty easy.
Yeah. Talk about finding a gap, and going for it. Maybe the hard tyres of Jabril not quite giving him the grip he expects.
No, and talking about grip that didn't expect, I think Sidley obviously lost a little bit of grip there and it crashes into the barrier, picking up a bit of damage. Obviously that won't help his race, but
severe damage, he's got severe engine damage as well.
Obviously no one likes to see that that red flashing light of the engine, so obviously hopefully he'll come into the pits, repair that so he won't lose too much time. Hopefully it factors into his strategy a little bit. But this track is proving very difficult. As I jumped on board with Giles, he has hit the barrier at turn 1, so that has let Sophia through into that third step of the podium. But obviously very unfortunate for Giles there. He's got a bit of damage. Hopefully he won't lose too much time, but obviously Pedro and Mercedes are not too far behind him.
If anything, he's probably done it at the perfect time. We saw in the sprint race that this is at the time where the softs and the mediums crossed over in performance. So it could hopefully it won't be too bad for him. Obviously, he's going to lose a little bit of extra time in the pits while he tries to repair the damage. But I think otherwise, if you're going to hit the barrier, you probably want to hit it towards this part of the stint, Sarah.
Yeah, I think that goes for any of us. I think if we ever, pick up damage, you always want to do it at the end of your stint so you don't lose too much time. No, my luck, I always hit it really early on and have to kind of, just deal with it. But hopefully you don't have to deal for it for too long. Obviously, like you say, the crossover between the softs wearing out and his first kind of pit stop should be coming up shortly. But Pedro is looking to... Or it's fast approaching Giles here, so potentially we might see Giles duck into the pits, repair that damage, and then come back out and try and, rejoin this battle. But talking about battles, Mercedes just behind Pedro. He's managed to stick in there, just tucking in behind Pedro. I've got to say, again, very impressive by Mercedes. It's his second Nighthawk racing event, doing really well so far. Although Giles carries on another lap with that damage, so potentially he's going the full, 10 laps, which those softs are capable of.
Well, it may be even longer because the longer you take.
Barrier again. Giles hits the barrier again, unfortunately. So again, that's going to cost him even more time, a little bit of damage, and I think Midnight just saw his life flash before his eyes as he comes around turn 1 with a Giles facing the complete wrong way.
As he would say, a Code Brown moment. Certainly not what you want to see when you come.
I think Midnight might have to pit for a new pair of trousers after that one.
It's certainly not what you want to see when you come run the first corner at 150 mile an hour. I'll tell you that much.
No, and he did very well to avoid that. So well done, Midnight. But we're joining this battle with the 4GTs again. Jabril has got in front of Charlie again, and sticks in front of Charlie for turn 2. Obviously, we know that Charlie likes to do a late braking manoeuvre there, but somewhere Jabril has managed to get back in front. So it'll be a battle of the 4GTs this race, I believe. But obviously, Katie Lakai up into P9 has repaired that damage. He's on his second stint. So we've kind of got varying strategies across the grid. Obviously, some having to pit to repair some damage and not necessarily, factoring in tyres and stuff. So at the end...
Sorry. It looks like Pedro may have gone a little bit wide and lost the P4 to Mercedes. Hopefully he can still stick behind the Porsche driver and catch him back, overtake him again. Obviously, fortunately, managed to avoid picking up any damage. I feel like he may have just put 1 or 2 tyres wide onto the grass, and that kind of sucked the car out and allowed the Porsche driver to sneak through.
Yeah, very easily done, as obviously Swizzy went on the grass a little bit there. Obviously, that BMW M6 is massive, so it's very easily to, drive across the grass on it, or, bang some of the panels into the wall. But, Sophia picking up a bit of grass as well there. BMW around here is very hard to drive, but Swizzy doing a pretty good job of it so far. He's obviously got that gap to Dark Rod, so he can make a mistake or two and not lose too much time to the second place. But obviously Pedro trying to make his way back up to the back of that Porsche. But this is a part of the race where everything will kind of die down a little bit. Obviously we're getting up to the first, I'd guess, arranged pit stops in some people's strategies. Obviously, we've seen a couple pits so far.
I think Charlie might have outbroke himself a little bit into turn 2. I think you mentioned at a few points in this race how Charlie will brake very deep into the second corner, and it looks like he might have just outbraked himself a little bit too much this time and tapped the barrier, giving himself a bit of front end damage.
Yeah, obviously not what you wanna see, but potentially breaking even later that time, and like you say, just caught him out by a little bit by surprise. But he does lose a few positions. But obviously Giles, I think, came in for a pit stop as well, repairing that damage, so that has dropped him all the way back into P12. But hopefully, we're only 10 laps in, he can make that progress up again and try and get on the podium and stake that P3 back again. But obviously Pedro and Mercedes very close to each other at the minute. Obviously, these two, I think they've raced in previous leagues before, so they kind of know, how to race each other. There's a lot of respect there. So obviously, Pedro waiting for his opportunity to pass Mercedes again, as I believe Nicky has just dived into the pits. So obviously, getting off those soft tyres, managing to go 11 laps on it. So he'll be on his second stint now.
Yeah, I think so. Both of our drivers who did qualify on the soft tyres now come into the pits. Who do you think's got the advantage at the minute? And it looks like Mercedes picked up a half-second penalty somewhere around this lap, which will certainly help Pedro get past. Or is Pedro? I was thinking, is Pedro going to think he's going to go for the move before they served the penalty? But he thinks better of it. It looks like Sophia might have crashed again because she's now got 3 bits of damage in the front of that Audi.
Oh yeah.
And certainly lost a lot of time to the 2 drivers behind her.
Yeah, obviously not what you want, especially in that R8. It's a difficult drive to start with to drive, so obviously 3 bits of damage is not going to make it easy for her. As obviously we've got Pedro has managed to get in front of Mercedes with that penalty. I'm sure Pedro will be very happy about that, but obviously he's got a bit of a challenge on his hands to get past Sophia. Well, she looks like she's going to go another lap with that damage, so obviously brave choice. Stick with the damage and go for another lap.
Yeah, well, you can already see how much time she's lost compared to her best lap without damage. Running, she taps that wall again, and the exit of turn 1. Well, you can see she's
we've
running.
Lost Charlie. I'm just flicking through the grid. I believe he's a potential first retirement of the race in Charlie. Obviously, we saw him last few laps outbrake himself into that turn 2, so maybe calling it a day after that.
Yeah, obviously you never like to see drivers pull out of the race, but hopefully he comes back next week. But yeah, it's like, even before damage, Sophia's fastest lap was 40.8, and in the past 2 laps she's been over 4 seconds a lap slower with a 44.6 and 244.6 Sarah, so running about 3.8 seconds off the pace.
Yeah, and obviously Pedro is closing up to her, so it's that, like you said earlier, it's that question of, do I pit to repair the damage? Obviously I'll lose track position, but she's losing a lot of time here, so she might even lose a track position or so to Pedro and Mercedes just behind. So it's that question, do you pit, repair the damage, come out, try and chase these guys again, or do you literally stay in that track position for as long as possible until you really have to pit?
Yeah, it's really difficult to say. I'd probably you really want to take these mediums as far as they go into the race, so you probably don't want to be pitting until lap 16, 17-ish.
Yeah,
and look at the overspeed. You can visibly see how much Pedro is catching thanks to his lack of damage and extra drag due to said damage. Sarah, is Pedro going to look at it going up the inside into the second corner? He does. Can he outbrake the Audi driver into the second corner? He can do it. It made it look like quite a simple move there. Sophia pulls off a wonderful switchback to get a much better drive out the corner and overtake Pedro.
Yeah, some may say obviously switchback of dreams there. Sophia thought she lost out her position, but obviously she had a little bit more traction than Pedro in that rear-wheel drive BMW. It's hard to put the power down early, so obviously Sophia taking full advantage of that. But obviously still carrying that damage, it's obviously probably inevitable that Pedro is going to catch her again and try and go for a move unless she does, come into the pits. But while they're battling, Mercedes, not too far behind, is seeing these two having a little bit of a ding dong of doors. So he'll be trying to take advantage of this and try and, like Swizzy earlier, buy one get one free, try and pass both of them at the same time. Obviously a little bit of a tall ask, but it's possible. Midnight obviously running in P6. He's having quite a chilled race so far. Obviously he qualified P9, so already making up a few positions and looking.
Sophia running very wide in a battle with Pedro and Mercedes. It looks like she's really starting to struggle in that Audi now, whether it be tyre wear or just damage. And it certainly seems like she might be losing a position at this time round, as Pedro is certainly looking at like he's got the overspeed now on the Audi. Is he going to go for it? He is going for it, and he goes up the inside. Up the inside. Oh, is Sophia's wide and hit the wall. Oh no. Sophia in the wall. Oh, is not what you like to see, is it, Sarah? Oh,
No, definitely not.
Possible retirement. Well, possible, and it is a retirement, unfortunately, after that crash into the wall for Sophia.
Yeah, I think obviously she must have reached. Oh, Katie the car hitting the wall as well. In turn 1, it's catching a few people out today. That's all I'll say. But yeah, unfortunately for Sophia retiring there, like you said earlier, not what you want to see. Obviously, people retiring because of damage. But hopefully she's back next week. But Midnight has made quite a advantage on Mercedes here. He's nearly at the back of that Porsche 911, so he'll be trying to make a move within the next few corners or so. Maybe try and catch Mercedes off guard a little bit, make him brake a little bit later. Mercedes does go wide, letting Midnight have the better line coming out of that corner, and makes the move done even before the corner. So well done, Midnight there. But his next challenger is Pedro.
I don't know if you saw what Mercedes did there. Obviously not getting the greatest exits from the corner. He tried to squeeze Midnight right over to maybe get him to back out, but Midnight kept firm and did the overtake. Although it looks like the curb might have unsettled Midnight's McLaren there slightly, which allows Mercedes to get an excellent run onto the pit straight and go up the inside of Midnight ISO. Can that Porsche get clear of Midnight before the first corner? Yes, it can. Well, maybe Midnight getting a little bit over-ambitious with the curbing, which upset the McLaren and allowed Mercedes to get a much better run onto the pit straight and do the overtake, Sarah.
Yeah, I thought we were going to see a McLaren take flight there. He went over that curb, and it definitely, the McLaren did not agree with it at all. But obviously Mercedes back up into P4. But Midnight, obviously all 4 wheels on the ground at this point. He's looking to try and get in front of Mercedes again here. But we've got Katie the Kite also coming into the pits. I believe another pit stop for him. New set of tyres, a bit more fuel, and see how far he can get up the grid. But back to our leader. I mean, we haven't talked about him much because he's been so far in front. But Swizzy doing an incredible job so far. He could probably have take his foot off the accelerator, and he'll probably still be in front for quite a while. Obviously, we're not complaining. But Pedro up to P3. I'm sure he'll be very happy about that. And not too far behind the Dark Lord, only a few corners in front, but Pedro looking to overtake Sicily here with the blue flags. Sicily doing also a good job so far. It is a very difficult track, so just get to the end, get those valuable points, which will help him in later on in the season as well. And obviously it's his first season with Nighthawk Racing, so doing an incredible job so far. So well done, Sicily. And talking about our other rookies as well, Nicky doing a pretty good job so far too.
Well, we're finally seeing people pit at the end of lap 15 heading on to lap 16 with Swizzy leading our first round of pit stops for our medium runners. Although it looks like everybody's certainly cutting it a bit fine on fuel there, Sarah. Pedro on 4% and Mercedes on 2%.
Yeah, definitely cutting it fine, or maybe judging it to perfection, they would probably say. But obviously that promotes the Dark Lord and Midnight into P1 and P2. I think they can go maybe a lap, maybe this lap. At the end of this lap, they'll come into the pits. Obviously, both of their fuel warnings are flashing at them, so we'll probably see him pit at the end of this lap. But yeah, obviously Swizzy coming out in P3 doesn't lose too much, time to these guys, so he'll be out in front in no time. But like you say, this obviously Pedro making the mediums work to that lap 16 stage, so good job from him and Mercedes. But obviously they come out pretty much side by side again, so these two basically inseparable at this point.
It certainly seems like it at the minute, Sarah. So it'll be interesting to see if Dark Lord or Midnight ISO can go 2 laps extra. Although looking at Midnight ISO's fuel, I don't think he will be able to go an extra lap, and neither can the Dark Lord. Both drivers will be in at the end of this lap, so maybe going for a bit of an overcut. and taking the fresher tyres for the extra for the last stint of the race era.
Yeah, potentially maybe onto an idea there. Obviously, Midnight into the pits as well. Swissy not too far behind, so like I said, he's going to get back up to P1. So it potentially, I'm not sure if the overcut's going to work for Midnight and Dark Lord, but they won't come out too far behind. But obviously, the pit stop here is quite a long one. You feel like you're sitting in there for an eternity. But Jabril also, back up to P4. They might come out just in front of Jabril here as he's coming around the final corner. Jabril might be onto a winner here, although he doesn't look too good on the fuel, so Jabril might be coming in within the next lap or so.
So he's definitely not out in front of Dark Club, but it looks like he may have. He definitely will be out in front of Midnight ISO. So the obviously early pit stop working well for Jabril. Currently has him running up in a podium position, although obviously technically a pit stop behind everyone.
And completely unrelated, everyone that watched last week in the Blue Lobby with Giles' double victory, he did have a very bright green livery. This week he's decided to use this special one-off livery to celebrate the Aston Villa, turning 150 years old. So he's gone for that all-black matte livery with Aston Villa logos on. So if you like football and you like Aston Villa, then obviously Giles' livery is for you. But going back to the racing at hand, we have obviously Pedro just coming out behind Midnight, so Midnight making the overcut work for him in that respect.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like he's really made the strategy work, and he's also on the soft tyres, which will give him the advantage over Pedro in this stint. So I certainly look forward to see if in the next stint, if Pedro can hunt down the McLaren driver, if they are doing similar strategies, just a bit inverted.
Yeah, obviously, I believe the strategy that I heard some of the drivers talking about was obviously double medium softs. It's just obviously which way you choose to run that strategy. Midnight going for the slightly faster tyre in the middle, trying to make up some lost ground, shall we say, and see if he can, create a gap to everybody. But again, it looks like Katie the Kai is having a little bit of a tough time running in P8. I don't think that GTR is pretty much suited to this track, but obviously it will be suited to other tracks. But we have Jabril coming in. He's on the hard tyres, so obviously he can go that a little bit longer into the race, like you say, with that earlier pit stop. But that will bring him down the order a little bit. But
well, it's interesting to see strategy, 2 mediums and softs, because that is what I did in my race, and in the Blue Lobby, and I did it Pedro's way, 2 mediums, and then saved the softs to at the end, to the end of the race. Always Midnight Ice goes very deep into that right-hander, which won't do him any favours when he's trying to pull away from Pedro and Mercedes.
No, going very wide and losing even a second here with these drivers, you basically you can't see him, and then they're right on the tail. Similar to the atoms at work, Midnight will know what I'm on about. But obviously Midnight losing just a tiny bit of ground to Pedro. Pedro obviously trying to get up in front of Midnight. These two are always, I swear, they're always at the same part of the track at the same time. I don't know if it's some sort of like curse or it's a blessing in disguise, because obviously they do provide us with some great racing, both part of the the Nighthawk admin team. But obviously Pedro having a little bit of a difficult race in that BMW. It is a very difficult car to drive around here. It's very slippy and slidey, but he's doing a cracking job so far. But apart from that, just having a quick flick through, Jabril has come out just behind Nicky, so potentially a little battle brewing here between obviously Nicky and the Ford GT. I don't know how the Ford GT is faring around this track. I don't think it's obviously the best car to use around here. It's very gas guzzling and maybe not the best, in dirty air, but Jabril seems to be handling it pretty well. Obviously some tracks that we're going to next might suit it a little bit more for him, but Sitaly as well, running in P10. But let's see how Jabril is. He going to go for the move on Nicky into turn 1? No, he thinks better of it staying behind Nicky, potentially trying to force Nicky into a little bit of a mistake. But both making it through turn 1, which is crucial. But I'll be keeping an eye on this battle. But is anything catching your eye, Kirk?
Not really at this moment in time, although it looks like Midnight has been able to pull out a bit of a gap this lap to the Portuguese driver of Pedro. Oh, as Pedro goes very deep into the end of the back straight and almost taps the barrier, but manages to avoid picking up any damage. It's obviously maybe a slight brown, or maybe a slight brown trousers moment, a bit of a code brown moment now, which it seems all too common around here.
It does, but Midnight, he'll probably say, no, I meant to do that, it's fine. But Jabril also made that move on Nicky in the first kind of couple corners. He managed to make the move stick on Nicky, but obviously Nicky not too far behind. He'll try and challenge Jabril again a little bit later, but Jabril on a lot newer tyres compared to Nicky. And we've got Katie the Kai on the back of Giggles, or Giles as you may know him, in that Aston Villa special livery. Hopefully obviously they both get through turn 1. I think Katie the Kai is going to stick behind Giles for turn 1. Obviously they both get through the this treacherous corner safely. We'll see who breaks slightly later.
Looks like Giles has picked up some front damage from somewhere as well. Front bumper and front right tyre, which obviously would not be helping him in a straight line or in the corners.
No, I think that's a common theme of when we keep going away from the drives and then coming back. There's some sort of body panel that's hanging off or flashing. But it looked like Katie Kai was going to try and attempt to move there, but backed out of it at the last minute. Obviously making sure that they both get around the corners. But like I say, obviously Katie the Kai might have a little bit more top end speed here compared to Giles. We'll be losing a little bit of downforce because of that damage, but the side obviously both going side by side. The Katie the Kai will be here in that RX vision, probably making him deaf at this point. Or a little bit of contact between Giles and Katie the Kai. The Katie the Kai is still in the the lead of this little battle here, but I don't think obviously Giles meant to do that. Maybe potentially that damage losing him a little bit of grip.
It looks like he may have ever so slightly outbroke himself, and then as he put on more braking pressure, caused the rear to step out, and he kind of just slid into Katie the Kai. Both drivers fortunate to not to pick up damage on Kai's part, and then more damage on Giles's part.
Yeah, obviously I think Giles will be trying to protect his little bubble for now. Obviously trying not to pick up any more damage until, he might have to adjust his pit stop, his final pit stop, shall we say, make it a little bit earlier than what he was expecting to. But he'll be trying to look after those tyres for as long as possible now, and try not to lose too much time to this pack in front of him. But yeah, we've got to that race, so obviously everyone's come in, or most of everyone has come in for that second pit stop. Maths is not my strong point. I can't remember if it's 1 or 2, but most of the drivers on their second stint, shall I say, kind of a big gap towards obviously the next drivers. You've got Swizzy out in front; he's miles away, but obviously the Dark Lord about, I'd say, a quarter of a lap behind. Midnight again, another quarter of a lap behind. So all of them kind of spaced out. This is obviously where everyone chills down, trying to make their strategies work. So we might not see any battles for a little bit. But obviously they'll come in for their final pit stop shortly. We're over halfway into the race, and I've got to say I'm impressed by everyone so far. It's not an easy track, so even to make it halfway into the race is quite impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. This track really does demand 100% concentration. I know this is probably one of the hardest parts of the race. When you're running by yourself, it can be ever so difficult just to keep your concentration up. Just like for half a second can see you either tap a barrier or spin out as you exit a corner. So it's certainly impressive to see these drivers driving as well as they are doing, as Mercedes goes very close to the barrier on the exit of turn 1.
Yeah, I think they're playing the game of who can get closest to turn one without actually hitting turn one at this point. Because we've seen quite a few drivers, just brushing past turn one without any damage. But maybe for them it's a bit of a hairy, scary moment. So maybe we'll see them try and back off of that barrier there. Obviously, in their final stint, they don't want to pick up any damage because that's when it will cost their finishing positions. But I mean, Swizzy could probably hit the barrier numerous times and still be in the lead. He seems to have just settled into the race, like normal, using that rocket of a BMW M6 in a very bright livery. I've got to say, I like the Shell-inspired livery. But Dark Lord, obviously, again, having a mega result. He won the feature race last week, looking or projected, obviously, to keep that P2 unless anything drastic happens. But I mean, Midnight in P3. Hopefully he can stay there. But Pedro obviously not too far behind. So potentially a battle between these two in this final stint. The battle of the Nighthawk admin. With obviously Mercedes, Katie the Kai, Giles, not too far away from each other. But yeah, I've got to say as well, I don't know if you agree, Kirk, but I say rookies, obviously, again, that doesn't depict anything of their skill level. What we mean by that is people new to the Nighthawk Racing F1 RST. I've got to say they're doing a mega job so far. All of them doing themselves proud around a difficult track. I don't know if you agree about that, Kirk.
Yeah, I could not have put it better myself. Obviously showing they're here for a reason why they're maybe new to the series, but in the red lobby, because they certainly got plenty of speed and pace, and giving well-established names a good run for their money, such as Mercedes currently running up in P5, not a million miles away from the podium position of Midnight ISO, who has managed to pick a half-second penalty up on this lap, but also running comfortably ahead of previous seasons. Previous season champion Katie Kai.
Yeah, I don't know if we picked a track that Katie the Kai absolutely hates, but obviously having a difficult time in that GTR today. Obviously the tyres again do look like they've seen better days, but obviously next week, the next event, which is Fuji, might be suited a little bit more to that GTR. Obviously there's that quite long start finish straight. But I think it's all about just trying to get past this race, pick up some valuable points, and obviously fight or try and defend that championship later on in the season. But yeah, like you say, obviously Mercedes just in front of Katie the Kai here. I think he'll be very happy about that. But yeah, just having a quick flick through. Pedro seems to have caught a little bit of ground to Midnight here. So Pedro, really switching it on. I think with the BMW it takes kind of almost. Oh, was that Katie Kai hitting the barrier there that I just saw? I think that caught him out by surprise, picking up a little bit of damage. I may have jinxed him there, so I'm very sorry, Katie the Kai. I think his ears must have been burning from me talking about him, so he hit the barrier. But obviously not what you want to see. But I can't even remember what I was talking about. I know I was talking about Pedro. Oh yeah, the BMW. With that BMW, I don't know if you drove it last season, Kirk. It kind of takes, getting halfway into the race to then really feel comfortable with that car, especially in difficult weather conditions. It's a very kind of twitchy car to drive sometimes.
Sometimes it can be a bit unpredictable on power, especially when the turbo kicks in. To be fair, I've had quite a few races last season where I didn't feel fully comfortable with the car, but once you hook it all up, it is such a nice car to drive, and it seems like Pedro, for the most part, is making it work tonight, in the feature race here tonight. Obviously, he's still got a soft stint to come, and he's certainly within striking range of Midnight ISO. So I'm pretty sure it's advantage Pedro at the minute. That's an interesting shout from the Dark Lord, because I don't think that's enough fuel to get him to the end of this race, nor will soft tyres do it. So possibly we've seen a free stop here. from the Dark Lord.
Like you say, quite an interesting strategic call there by the Dark Lord, pitting for a fresh set, but also picking the softer compound. And we've still got quite a few laps left, so maybe potentially just trying to get a little stint out of the way. Maybe go for the fastest lap. That fast lap by Swizzy is pretty quick, but maybe trying to set the fastest lap now and then finish the race. Maybe on the mediums again. But he didn't lose too much time to the likes of Midnight and Pedro. He just come out just behind him, so Pedro will be looking in his rearview mirror, trying to defend like hell from the Dark Lord. But obviously Sitaly as well, listening to the blue flags, moving out their way, not obviously getting in the way of this battle here. But yeah, it looks like everyone's in this part of the grid at the minute. We've got Midnight, Pedro, Dark Lord, and we've got Mercedes about a corner behind. So again, this little battle might heat up again, and we might have a little bit of a pack racing going on to lap number 26. Sorry, but
I definitely won't be complaining about seeing some pack racing. Just to put in perspective how fast Swizzy's time is a 40.2. I don't think in the entire race, in my entire race, I said anything faster than a 41.5. So even my personal best lap is about 1.3 off Swizzy's time, and Swizzy's consistently in the 1 minute 40s between the 0.3 and 0.9 part. So it would be consistently about a second and a half quicker than me, and it is 2/10 purple in the second sector, Sarah. So this could be a new fastest lap of the race from the Finnish driver.
Yeah, obviously, similar to obviously, I think he takes the name of Flying Finn literally. Obviously, he's so fast. Any car you give him, it's almost like he knows how to drive all of them in this game. He literally is so quick. I mean, a little bit of a challenge, obviously, coming back from taking a season, about 3/4 of a season off. I think we spotted the same thing at the same time there. Take it away, Kirk.
Yeah, it looks like Pedro and the Dark Lord getting racy, as obviously Dark Lord making a pit stop for those fresh soft tyres, and he is pushing the BMW of Pedro round these corners. He does not want to be stuck behind this BMW any longer than he has to. He looks towards the inside but thinks better of it. Is he going to set himself up for the exit of the final corner? Yes, he is. He just needs to straighten that Supra up and get a great exit. But it wasn't the greatest of exits from the Dark Lord, so he's going to probably have to sit behind this BMW for a few more corners, because his only real overtaking opportunity is into the second corner, because the section after it seems just a bit too tight to be able to properly make an overtake, Sarah.
Yeah, that second sector is incredibly hard. Oh
my goodness! What talk about late on the brakes.
I know. I was wondering if he was going to stop in time. It was so late on the brakes, but he gets that move done on Pedro, and I can probably assume that caught Pedro off guard completely. So obviously you have to brake quite early for that turn 2, but the Dark Lord risking it all and braking a lot later and making that move done. And I think obviously Midnight would have seen that move and knows that the Dark Lord is hot in his tail. So obviously we'll see Midnight try and defend from the Dark Lord again in the next few corners.
I don't think Midnight would like to defend, looking at the state of his tyres. It looks like he just wants to get rid of him at this point, but with about 13-14 laps to go, I think maybe a set of medium tyres will do him very nicely to the end of this race. As you see Pedro going very deep behind Dark Lord.
Yeah, maybe unsettling that BMW a little bit here, but
big damage for Katie Kai. And possible another retirement from, definitely another retirement from this race as he hits the barrier and then goes to the Shadow Realm, for lack of a better term.
It's like a magic trick. He was there, now he's gone. So unfortunate for Katie Kai there.
No, you see me? No, no, you don't.
Yeah, I think he'll reappear in a minute. We'll be like, how the hell did he do that? But yeah, he's got some sort of invisibility cloak. He'll be trying to get up to the lead. But yeah, very unfortunate for KD Decailer. Hopefully we see him back next week. Well, back for the next event, which is Fuji. Like I said, hopefully it suits his car a little bit more. But obviously he won't get any points for this race. So defending that championship is going to look hard in the next coming races. But there's still a chance. There's still a chance.
That's an interesting choice. With 12 racing laps to go, Midnight ISO has decided to take a set of the soft tyres. So he's gone. Was that mediums? Was it medium double soft at the end of this race? Certainly an aggressive strategy call, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I'm surprised that those mediums last so long. Did we miss a pit stop by him? I don't think we did. So yeah, he has looked after those tyres pretty well. Especially obviously that kind of middle set of the soft tyres. But yeah, hopefully he can look after those softs again, and it will get him the race distance. And obviously, if Mercedes and Pedro have to pit again, that P3 looks nice for Midnight.
Well, they definitely will have to pit again, because I know for a fact that Pedro has not used the soft tyres yet, doing starting on the mediums and then pitting for a set of mediums, and I'm pretty sure that's the same for Mercedes as well. But the question is, how many extra laps does Pedro go to get the overcut on Midnight ISO to reap the full reward of those fresh softs, as Midnight's tyres could be pretty borderline towards the end of this race?
Yeah. I don't know about you. I don't know if the overcut works around this track. I think this track is one of those things that the undercut may work, the overcut, I'm not quite sure. So Pedro might be in a little bit of a sticky situation here with Midnight. Midnight might have called it perfectly, and if he does, he'll be claiming that he meant to do that. But obviously we've still got, like you say, about 11 laps to go. So obviously I think Mercedes and Pedro will be coming in within the next lap or so, and try and go on those soft set of tyres to the end.
I've just seen that we've got a new fastest lap of the race, thanks to our very own Dark Lord, somehow getting into the 39. Sarah, what kind of
Jesus Christ?
What kind of dark art magic is this?
Well, he's definitely using, challenging the Dark Lord, like the literal, Darth Vader term. Some sort of magic there that I don't even know how he's got into the 39s, but well done.
I wonder if he's got a magic afterburner tucked underneath the wing of that Supra down the straights.
Yeah, I reckon so. He's switching it on, and well, it looks like he's in the got some sort of rocket fuel in that Supra. But yeah, well done, Dark Lord. I didn't even how like you say earlier, like I didn't even touch, I think, lower than 42, 43, so I don't know how he's done that. Maybe he took flight and skipped a few corners, but Jesus Christ.
Instead of going left at the first corner, he went right and cut a whole section of the track off.
Yeah, there might be a super bumper in the field somewhere where he's gone over them. But obviously Nicky will be probably obeying the blue flag shortly, as the Dark Lord is hot on his tails. But everyone around this track has pretty much done a good job. Obviously we have lost a few, but it happens around a difficult track. Everyone's sick of probably hearing that it's a difficult track. What's happened? What's squared?
Pedro going down that back straight has outbraked himself and picked up a bit of front damage on the BMW. Obviously he's not going to really help his battle with Midnight ISO very much, because he's going to lose even more time now as he now has to fix that damage. But it's also going to be interesting to see where he now comes out compared to Mercedes. It might even put him out behind Mercedes now, Sarah.
Yeah, because unfortunately, obviously, when you're repairing that damage, it does lose you a second or so on what the time you're expecting. But like I said earlier, I think it's obviously the best kind of way for it to happen in a way. Obviously, at the end of his stint. But is that a Dark Lord on the back of Swizzy, I see? Potentially a battle for the lead?
Ooh, it absolutely looks like it. Although it looks like Susie is on brand new tyres compared to the Dark Lord's worn softs. And I think fuel-wise, Dark Lord will be cutting it very close to getting towards the end without pitting again. And it looks like Swizzy's also took a fresh set of softs. It's coming for that fastest lap, so expect to see a much faster time set. Maybe even a 39.6, 39.5.
Yeah, those sort of lap times are, yeah. I think when we say aliens, we mean it. They're using some sort of dark magic to get those sort of lap times, but it just shows you how fast these drivers really are. And obviously, everyone doing a good job setting some consistent lap times, and that's what's needed around a track like this. Staying out the wall for one, but also being quite consistent time wise. And Midnight seems to have been done pretty well. He's not obviously close up behind Swizzy and the Dark Lord, but he's held that P3 for, I'd say, the majority of the race. Obviously starting P9 as well. He had a difficult job to do, but if he can stay in P3, that will kind of boost him up in the championship, as I think round 1 was, I think he did pretty well, but again, he's looking for that good result.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you can even see now how far the likes of Pedro and Mercedes are behind Midnight ISO. Obviously, Midnight ISO pitting a few laps before Pedro and Mercedes, and obviously Pedro needing to pit to repair damage as well. So it certainly allows Midnight to have a bit more breathing room, maybe take it a little bit easier now, because he knows he ain't catching, even though he's more than likely not catching the likes of the Dark Lord or Swizzy. So maybe take it a little bit easier, save a little bit of fuel and save a little bit of tyres while you've got this.
Potentially save a new pair of trousers as well. I think Midnight's engaged in too many Co-Brown moments today, so yeah, I think he'll be relishing that he's got a little bit of clean air, and he doesn't have to necessarily fight as much in this closing stint. So like you say, maybe just chilling in that Mclaren for his final stint after working pretty hard. But
yeah, a little Sunday drive back to the finish line.
Little Sunday drive on a Wednesday. But I think we've all been guilty of that. But yeah, Swizzy has made a lot of ground on the Dark Lord. It really does show you, what a new set of tyres can do. And you were right, setting a new fast lap of is that a 1:30? Is that a 38 or 39.1? But
it's a 39.1.
Jesus.
2.5 seconds faster than anything I could set. Oh, crikey. You can tell Swizzy's definitely had his Weetabix today, can't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what he's put in that BMW. It must be some sort of different. But yeah, that lap time made me speechless, especially this late into the race as well. But again, it just shows you how fast Swizzy really is. And I was going to say earlier, obviously it's a difficult job. Obviously I think he did join us a few races last season, but unfortunately due to working schedules, he couldn't join us for the majority of it. So it's good to see him back, of course, for one. But I thought it was maybe he's not practiced as much. But I think with Swizzy, it just comes down to natural talent. He doesn't need to practice every day. He doesn't need to he just jumps into the car and does what he does best, and that is winning races and obviously setting some incredible lap times, as we've seen with that fastest lap.
Yeah, you either have it or you don't have it, and Swizzy's definitely got it. What can I say?
Some of that. I definitely don't have it. I need to borrow some of his.
I need some of that finish magic in my life.
Yeah. As we see the Dark Lord coming into the pits as well. Interesting call, but you called it earlier. He didn't quite have enough fuel to make it to the end.
Yeah, but he's got more than enough time to the likes of Midnight ISO, where he can take a fresh set of tyres, take a bit of fuel, and maybe we might even see a new fastest lap attempt from the Dark Lord. But compared to his previous personal best of 39.9, he's got to find 0.8 of a second on what is already a blisteringly fast lap time, Sarah. Obviously, both drivers battling all out for this fastest lap of the race. I just got to say, Swizzy's followed up his 39.1 up with a 39.2. Oh, absolutely
that's consistency
bonkers.
at his best. Is being able to set two pretty much, nearly identical lap times. It just shows you how amazing he is behind the wheel of that BMW. But obviously he's making his way past Giles as well. Oh, Giles nearly catching the back of Swizzy there, but managing to quite a lot. Obviously we have Sitterly running in P9 still, Nicky in P8, Giles in P7, and Jabril in P6. And if you want to run through the rest of the grid for me.
Mercedes in P5, Pedro in 4th, Midnight ISO in 3, obviously up from starting P9, Dark Lord in 2nd, Swizzy 1st. Very impressive drives from everyone. It's good to see the new faces doing well. Obviously, this has been a real race of attrition. Obviously, originally in the sprint race, we had 13 drivers to only 9 now towards the end of this feature race. But yeah, it was a real race of attrition. We lost Sophia, we lost Key, Kai, we lost Charlie, and then obviously Lee didn't start this race.
Yeah, no, unfortunately Lee feeling unwell, so obviously we wish him well. Hope you feel better for the next race, Lee. Obviously it's sad to see you not on the grid in that classic, Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. Everyone that's running is doing a pretty good job, and I'm sure they'll be very happy to see the back of Sardegna A reverse. I don't think they'll be coming back anytime soon.
Want to come back?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just saying. I definitely am very glad to see the back of this circuit. I cannot wait until we get to some much better tracks, much more to my style. Obviously Fiji or Fuji, whichever way you would like to say it. Both layouts of Deep Forest, and then personal favourite Road Atlanta for later on in the season, Sarah.
Yeah, I've got to say we've got some pretty interesting tracks coming up. Obviously we visit Deep Forest twice as well, so that might be to some drivers' likings, or it might be like Marmite. Some may love it, some may hate it, but I think this is the one race that they'll be glad to see the back of, and like you said, they'll be looking forward to the next events, and hopefully to some of their personal favourites as well.
I don't know if you'd know this clip that I'm speaking of, but it reminds me of the Scottish commentator for the old World Touring cars, where he goes, "Oh, whoever designed this circuit should be taken into a dark room and beaten with a stick." If you know what I'm on about.
I know what you're on about, and I think that's definitely the case with this one. I don't know about you, but either way round of this track, I can't drive, but definitely this reverse, it flows a little bit better, but no way in any shape makes it any more easier to drive. And I think obviously all the drivers have found that out today. I'm used to driving it the other way around, so when I first lapped this one, I was like, where am I going? What am I doing? I don't know.
Yeah, it's certainly an interesting choice, because I can't imagine many of our drivers before today actually drove the reverse layout. I know I've driven the forward layout a few times. I actually quite like the forward layout, but this reverse layout is definitely a very different can of worms, especially that first corner, Sarah.
Yeah, it's one of those corners that when you look at it, you think, I can take that flat out, you know, I'll be fine. But obviously, anyone that has tried to take it flat out, you know, it's definitely, you know, dangerous too. I think that all the drivers can say they've at least tried to go flat out through turn one at least once. Probably to no avail, but yeah, it's one of those corners. It's very deceiving. It looks like you can go flat out, but you just need to let off the accelerator just a little bit. But I could probably count so many times that I've hit that wall in practice. I try my best to avoid it, but it looks like it has caught a few of the drivers out today. All the drivers will have a little bit of their paintwork on that barrier. Almost like, or they're all right in, yeah. I don't know. Pedro was here, or you know, or they've all got their little mark on turn one.
Well, actually, speaking of Pedro, I just want to give a little shout out to Pedro. Another driver, a driver who almost joined the 39 clubs, his personal best lap being a 40.0, so less than a tenth away from joining the 39 club. What an absolutely stonking lap, and he seems to be catching Midnight a slight rate of knots. Just on this previous lap, he was a second or so faster, just over. Although he has unfortunately picked up a half-second penalty. His Midnight ISO seems making one or two mistakes now, and which allows the BMW driver to catch up ever so long. As it certainly seems that way. I think even with this slight unfortunate penalty that Pedro's picked up, I'm sure it still advantage Pedro, as that gap seems to be coming down quite quickly, doesn't it, Sarah?
It does. Obviously, Pedro might lose a little bit of time here with that penalty. I don't think it will cost him too much, that penalty. Like, obviously, other tracks we've been to, when you got a half-second penalty, it really kind of takes a second or a second and a half out of you. I don't think it will lose him too much time, as obviously Midnight having to slow down for the twisty-turny bit. But, yeah, obviously, he's got to make it stick, Pedro, now. We've only got a couple of laps to the end, so he's going to literally have to put his foot down and try and get up to the back of that McLaren. It's going to be a tall ask for Pedro to overtake Midnight, but if anyone can do it, Pedro can do it.
Well, interestingly enough, compared to Midnight, Midnight, even with that half-second penalty, Pedro was about half a tenth faster. So obviously, Midnight really starting to struggle with the tyre wear on that McLaren. Maybe the 12 laps on the soft tyre was not quite the right way to go.
No, obviously, we saw some people drive it the 10 laps in the sprint comfortably on the softs, and I think maybe Midnight did 11 laps on it earlier, unless it was another driver, but maybe 12 laps the tyres have fallen off of a cliff. But it'll be about who can keep it on track with the tyre wear, and like you say, Pedro might have the slight advantage here, but with only a lap and a half to go, it's going to be very difficult for Pedro here to overtake. But I mean, it just goes to show Pedro himself has obviously made a few mistakes as well, so to be even this close to Midnight in the final stint is a very impressive job.
Yeah, absolutely, especially when you think about how clean and consistent of a driver Midnight normally is. Makes it all the more impressive. Impressive his result. Obviously, we know Midnight maybe not the most blisteringly fast driver on the grid, but it shows you what you can achieve, and especially in a race of attrition such as this one, gained 6 positions from strategy.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard one to call driver of the day shortly. I've started thinking about it, but I don't know who I'm going to pick as yet. I don't know if you've got one in your head, but
yeah, I do. Yeah.
I think it probably is a no-brainer, but I think there'll be definitely some honourable shout-outs, shall we say, to quite a few of the drivers.
Yeah, as it looks like coming up to the final corner of the final race, exiting the final corner for the final time. What an absolutely phenomenal dominant drive from the Finnish driver, Swizzy. There was really no looking back for him today, was it? He may have lost the lead ever so slightly off the start from the fast starting soft runner Giles, but he got it back in second place and didn't look back.
Oh, Pedro with damage. I don't think he's going to make that move done on midnight. We must have missed it within that last lap, but Pedro picking up damage, that's not going to help his chances. So it looks pretty much done and dusted in that battle between Midnight and Pedro there.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it. It looks like Pedro couldn't quite close the gap to that McLaren driver in the end, although it looks like Midnight is basically driving on rims on this final lap. I think one more lap and Midnight would have been in real trouble. As we see Dark Lord taking up second place, again a very good drive from the Dark Lord. Again, didn't quite have the pace to catch Swizzy today, but another very, very impressive driver. And you can say the same about the next three drivers. After 39 laps, an hour and 8 minutes on track, they're all separated by barely more than 5 seconds, Sarah. I guess you could say a story of what could have been for Pedro if he kept out the barriers and out of the barriers and out of the penalties. And again, same for Mercedes. Very, very good drive from them to be up in P5 behind, only a couple of seconds behind Midnight and Pedro.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you there. It obviously shows as well their strategies were so similar, those three drivers, that it pretty much brought them to the same piece of tarmac right at the end. But I think obviously Midnight, out of that battle, starting from P9, had the more difficult job, but he made it stick within that first stint, which I think was crucial for Midnight there. But yeah, Pedro and Mercedes, giving him a little bit of a challenge. And like I said, it's good that Mercedes was, battling those two in front of him. And I've got to say, I'm very impressed by that Porsche 911, obviously Team Year 1 livery on it. But obviously, we've reached the end of the feature race. What were your thoughts on the race we had? So
absolutely bonkers. That's
one way to sum it up.
That's the only way I can sum. Well, we saw thrills, we saw spills, and we saw absolutely ridiculous pace from our front two drivers.
Yeah, we saw a few bangs into the wall as well, unfortunately. But around this track, it's obviously easy to do. But I've got to say, obviously, like I said earlier, just to get through this race was one challenge. To win it, obviously, I think Swizzy is Swizzy. At the end of the day, he's so incredibly fast. We could probably throw all the challenges his way and he'd still find some sort of way to overcome them. But like I say, that just shows how fast he is. But it shows you, obviously, Pedro wasn't too far off for the 39s, and Dark Lord, trying his best to dethrone Swizzy as well. But obviously another good result for Dark Lord in general, which will extend his lead in the championship. I believe he'll still be in first with quite a lot of points. But obviously Sophia not having the best of results, that might drop her down a position or two. But I'll be excited to see how everyone gets on in the championship. Obviously Swizzy, pretty much throwing himself near the top of the championship, one event in. So yeah, I think this championship's going to be probably, I'd say, 4 or 5 cars fighting for that top spot.
Yeah, it certainly seems like it at the moment. Between the drivers, just looking at the championship standings at the minute. So you are correct in saying the Dark Lord is in first place. So currently in our standings, Dark Lord currently leads the way on 119 points, followed by Midnight in second on 82 points. He has gained 9 positions this round, which ranks to a very strong drive. Sophia unfortunately loses a position to Midnight, so obviously unfortunately DNFing in the feature race, which cost her some points, which also cost her second place in the standings for the moment. On the same amount of points as Sophia, we have Pedro, to tie in for P3 at the minute, but Sophie wins based on average points by only half a point. And then 5th we have Giles on 76 points. 7th, 6th I say is Jabril. 7th is Swizzy, who after one round, Sarah, gained 21 positions in the championships, which is quite ridiculous.
Yeah, that is mental. Obviously, climbing up 21 positions into 7th place out of a possible 28 places. So, yeah, that is pretty remarkable from Swizzy there. I don't know how he did it, but he definitely, you know, he's put himself way within the top 10 already, and I believe that he is awarded the Grand Slam for this event as well. Obviously setting pole, winning both races, setting the fastest lap. I mean, was it even in question? Probably not. You know, Swizzy probably had that strategy in mind that he wanted to come back and you know, throw a Grand Slam in his first event back with us. But yeah, it's always mental to see how he gets on in track, because it's very entertaining to watch him.
Obligatory reference. He can't keep getting away with it. I don't know how many Grand Slams he has now, but it is well deserved. He is a very fast driver, and you know, I mean, all the good to him. You know, I know I can't hold a candle to him. I'm not sure many people can on this game. He must be in the top. He must be the difference between the top 1% and the top 0.1% in this game, Sarah.
Yeah, he's so incredibly fast. So obviously it's a real privilege to have him here with us. You know, making probably some of us sad with how fast he is, but also, you know, just proving how fast he is, and you know, he always has the right strategy. So yeah, I mean, we've got to give it to Swizzy. But that probably leads us perfectly on to picking the driver of the day. I probably have a feeling of who you're going to choose, Kirk, but who are you going to choose to drive for the day?
I mean, I can't take it away from anyone. Lots of very good performances today. Obviously, a shout out to Midnight House starting P9, finishing on the podium. Fantastic drive. Dark Lord again starting 3rd or 4th. I can't quite remember off the top of my head. But finishing 2nd place. But you know what I mean, Grand Slam event, you don't do much better than that, and Swizzy's gone and done it. So it really can only be Swizzy, due to the fact he has Grand Slammed it all and made it look so easy in the process.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you there. I've got to give my driver of the day to Swizzy as well. But I'd say it's incredibly close to giving the driver of the day to Midnight as well. Obviously, like you say, making up quite a few positions in that feature race after having a difficult qualifying in general. So obviously, honourable shout out to Midnight there. And he's on a good form of performance, and luckily he's my teammate. He's definitely carrying the team, because you'll see how I got on in blue. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, Midnight is definitely carrying our team. So keep doing that, Midnight. But yeah, talking about obviously next event, we travel over to Fuji. It's going to be a difficult track for some of their cars, but yeah, I'm excited to see how everyone gets on. But any final words from you, Kirk, or should we go hear from the drivers?
Yeah, I think we should just hear straight from the drivers. I tell you what, I don't think I'm gonna enjoy Fuji in the Viper. You know, on throttle understeer, a trail braking oversteer. Oh, it's going to be a doozy all around. I'll tell you that much. But you know, I'm all the more eager to bring on the challenge.
You heard it here first. Everyone keep an eye out for Kirk on track. But you might be a moving roadblock. But yeah, thank you for joining me in commentary this week, Kirk. And I'm excited to see how everyone gets on in the next event. But let's go hear from the drivers themselves, see if any of them have got anything to say. And yeah, obviously, well done to everyone after this very difficult track. And on to the next one.
Qualifying was a little disappointing and I should have got P2. Sprint race was mostly about staying out of trouble the first few laps and managed to get myself up to 4th, but a few mistakes and penalty meant I couldn't challenge for a podium. Feature race got a good start and got up to second early on, then it was just about consolidating P2 as was never going to match Swizzy S pace, so happy to come home second and overall take a good points haul from the event.
Well, Sardegna, that was a bit of an interesting one for me. Had a bit of a gift in the sprint to the fact that in Maggiore I didn't score very well, so with the reverse average points I ended up starting towards the front of the grid, and I think I took full advantage of that. I was a bit lucky in the fact that unfortunately Lee had his incident at turn 1, which I inherited the lead, and I had fully intended on staying there, but the raw pace of Sofia and Swizzy wasn't something I could really contend with. I made a couple of mistakes at the top hairpin in the course and lost a good couple of seconds, which allowed the pair of them to catch up and eventually get through. I ended up finishing third, but almost stole second back off Sofia on the final couple of corners when her tyres went off. So almost worked out, but do you know what? I'm happy with third there. That was quite an interesting race. And then the feature itself, the first stint was just so much traffic. I mean, we are all traffic at the end of the day for each other, but it was just a matter of trying to be consistent, staying out of the wall and getting to the end and just being consistent as possible, and it worked out for me in the end. Fortunately, I think I was one of the only ones not to get any damage through the event, but maybe you can put that down to the fact I just wasn't quick enough to get some damage, but it worked out in my advantage. I nearly lost a position to Pedro and Mercedes in the last couple of laps as my tyres started to go off in the final stint, but I was fortunate enough to get ahead of them anyway with the undercut and managed to power through on some double set of soft tyres to the end, so worked in my favour, but the strategy was very close cut, so I'm going to accept a double podium and be very, very happy with it. But there was, from what I could see, a lot of good racing out there from all, but the pace from Dart Lord and Swizzy was just unreal out front. So pleasure being on the same track as them and everyone else. Looking forward to the next race at Fuji.